Switchblades. Just the name sounds kinda edgy, right? These knives have a certain allure, a mystique that makes them stand out. These spring-loaded knives, flicking open with a button push, have a history as colorful as their pop culture image. From the silver screen to the streets, they've been both glamorized and vilified. But why are these seemingly cool gadgets often on the wrong side of the law? What makes them so controversial? Well, the answer isn't as simple as you might think. It's a mix of legal intricacies, societal fears, and historical events that have shaped their reputation. It's a tangled web of history, perception, and yes, a little bit of Hollywood drama. Movies from the mid-20th century often portrayed switchblades as the weapon of choice for gangsters and rebels, cementing their image as dangerous tools. Buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the shocking truth about why switchblades are illegal. We'll explore the laws that govern them, the myths that surround them, and the reality of their use. Get ready to separate fact from fiction and maybe even question what you thought you knew. Are they really as dangerous as they're made out to be? Or is it all just hype? Because when it comes to switchblades, things aren't always as they seem. The truth is layered, complex, and often surprising. So, let's uncover the real story behind these infamous knives. Believe it or not, switchblades weren't always viewed with suspicion. In the late 19th century, they were considered a marvel of engineering. Farmers, ranchers, and even everyday folks found them incredibly useful. Imagine a time before smartphones, before the internet, even before sliced bread was a thing. Back then, a reliable pocket knife was essential. And the switchblade, with its quick deployment, was a game changer. But like all good things, their popularity eventually attracted unwanted attention. As time went on, switchblades found their way into the hands of less savory characters. And that's where our story takes a turn. Fast forward a few decades, and the media started painting a very different picture of switchblades. Movies and newspapers began associating these knives with delinquency and danger. Suddenly, the handy tool that once helped farmers was now the weapon of choice for street toughs and gangsters. This shift in perception wasn't entirely unwarranted, as switchblades were indeed used in some criminal activities. But the media, as we know, has a knack for sensationalism. And so, the image of the switchblade as a symbol of lawlessness was born. With public opinion turning against switchblades, it was only a matter of time before lawmakers took notice. The 1950s saw a wave of legislation aimed at restricting or outright banning these knives. The Federal Switchblade Act of 1958 was a major turning point. This law, fueled by concerns about juvenile delinquency and organized crime, effectively banned the interstate shipment of switchblades. Many states followed suit, enacting their own strict regulations. And just like that, the once ubiquitous switchblade was driven underground. Section 5. The case of the misunderstood blade, separating fact from fiction. Switchblades have long been the subject of controversy and misunderstanding. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the perception of switchblades in popular culture and media. Are switchblades really as dangerous as they're made out to be? Or is it just a case of sensationalism? The answer, like most things in life, is complicated. It's not as black and white as it seems. Yes, a switchblade can be a dangerous weapon in the wrong hands. But this is true for many everyday objects. But so can a kitchen knife, a hammer, or even a pen. Each of these items can cause harm if misused. The truth is, the danger of any tool lies with the person wielding it, not the tool itself. It's the intent and the context that matter. Switchblades, despite their reputation, are not inherently more dangerous than other types of knives. They are simply tools with a specific design. In fact, some might argue that their quick deployment could even be a deterrent in certain situations. For instance, in self-defense scenarios, the ability to quickly access a blade might provide a sense of security, but that's a debate for another time. The key takeaway is to understand the context and not jump to conclusions based on appearances alone. Stay tuned for more insights. Section 6 Gangland Gadgets. Debunking the switchblade stereotype. One of the biggest misconceptions surrounding switchblades is their supposed connection to gang activity. While it's true that some criminals used switchblades in the past, this association is largely overblown. The media's portrayal of switchblades as the weapon of choice for gangsters is a gross exaggeration. In reality, most criminals opt for more readily available and concealable weapons. The switchblade, with its distinctive clicking sound and often flashy design, is hardly the ideal tool for discrete criminal activity. It's more likely to attract attention than blend in. Section 7. Law-abiding citizens versus outdated laws, a question of rights. So, if switchblades aren't inherently more dangerous than other knives and their connection to crime is overstated, why are they still illegal in many places? That's a question that many law-abiding citizens are asking. Some argue that the laws banning switchblades are outdated and infringe on their Second Amendment rights. After all, if people can own firearms, why not switchblades? Others argue that these laws are necessary to ensure public safety. They point to the potential for accidents and the possibility of switchblades falling into the wrong hands. It's a complex issue with no easy answers. Section 8. Global perspectives: how other countries handle switchblades. Interestingly, the United States is in the minority when it comes to strict switchblade laws. Many other countries have a more relaxed approach, allowing their citizens to own and carry switchblades with certain restrictions. In Europe, for example, switchblade laws vary widely. Some countries, like Germany, have strict regulations similar to the US. Others, like France and Italy, allow switchblades with certain blade length limitations. This suggests that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to switchblade regulation, and it raises the question of whether the US's strict stance is truly justified. Section 9. The collector's dilemma: when passion meets prohibition. For some, switchblades aren't just tools or weapons, they're pieces of history, works of art, and objects of fascination. These collectors are drawn to the craftsmanship, the ingenuity, and the undeniable cool factor of these knives. But their passion is often at odds with the law. In many places, owning or even possessing a switchblade can land you in hot water, even if you have no intention of using it for anything other than display. This has led to a thriving black market for vintage switchblades, with collectors often resorting to clandestine meetings and online forums to indulge their hobby. Section 10. Safety first or freedom first? The ongoing debate. The debate over switchblade legality ultimately boils down to a fundamental question: should the government prioritize public safety over individual freedom? This question has been at the heart of many legislative discussions and court cases over the years, reflecting a broader societal struggle between collective security and personal autonomy. Those in favor of stricter regulations argue that it's the government's responsibility to protect its citizens, even if it means limiting certain freedoms. They point to statistics and case studies showing how switchblades have been used in criminal activities, emphasizing the potential risks to public safety. They believe that the potential dangers posed by switchblades, however small, outweigh any arguments about personal liberty. Advocates for these regulations often cite incidents where switchblades were involved in violent crimes, arguing that the presence of such weapons in public spaces increases the likelihood of harm. On the other hand, opponents of these laws argue that the government should not infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens to own and use tools that have legitimate purposes. They stress that switchblades can be used responsibly for activities such as fishing, hunting, and even certain trades where a quick deploying blade is necessary. They believe that education and responsible ownership are more effective than outright bans. By promoting knife safety classes and distributing educational materials, they argue that individuals can be taught to handle switchblades safely, reducing the risk of accidents and misuse. This approach, they claim, respects personal freedom while still addressing safety concerns. The ongoing debate is a reflection of a larger philosophical divide in society. It raises important questions about the role of government, the balance between safety and freedom, and how best to protect citizens without overstepping boundaries. As communities continue to discuss and deliberate, the outcome of this debate will likely shape future policies and societal norms. Section 11. Conclusion. Time to flip the script. So, there you have it. The shocking truth about why switchblades are illegal is that it's not so shocking after all. It's a complex issue with roots in history, media hype, and genuine safety concerns. But, as we've seen, the reality of switchblades doesn't always match the perception. Perhaps it's time to reevaluate these laws, to separate fact from fiction, and to have an open and honest conversation about the role of switchblades in modern society. Because in the end, the question isn't whether switchblades are good or bad, but whether the laws governing them are still relevant and just.